Hello, everybody. So today I want to talk about a very interesting business called Tygo Energy. Tygo is mostly, to this day, a maker of only optimizers, only what they call module level power electronics. That is optimizers, that is this little device that you put under each solar panel. And these devices became a thing really were introduced mostly by SolarEdge for compliance with city codes around the world that required these devices, these shut-off devices, rapid shutdown, to be installed under each panel. Because one of the issues with solar panels in the early days is that you would have thousands of watts go from the roof to an inverter that was placed, 50 feet away. And if there was a fire, firefighters could not intervene because you had this crazy amount of power going through the solar panel. So most codes, and even if you don't have a code, it is good practice, most engineers of these systems will require a solar panel level shutdown such that emergency services can go on your building. It's just a good practice to have. And so as a result of that, optimizers or module level power electronics, i.e. rapid shutdown, became a thing. And this is a company, Tygo, that specializes exclusively in these little devices, exclusively. And when I say exclusively, what I actually mean is that 96% of our revenue is from these tiny devices, which is very different from, say, a SolarEdge, which of course has optimizers, but most of their revenue comes from their inverters. Now, it's worth noting, but I won't cover this in this video, but it's worth noting that Tygo is getting into the inverter business and the battery business and the transfer switch business. They're getting into that whole business. They have a side software business to analyze their MLPE devices and all of their panel data. They have that side business that they've always had. But all of these solutions are 4% of revenue, which really doesn't matter yet. Doesn't matter, which is why most of this video is targeted towards the 96% of the revenue, which is these optimizer devices. These devices that most solar engineers, most solar installers will recommend below a solar panel to either comply with code or either for common sense purposes. And it just makes sense that you would need one of those. So a pure play optimizer business, in my view, sounds much better than, say, SolarEdge. And as you know on this channel, I've been a little bit critical of SolarEdge because SolarEdge, really, they were a string inverter business, and they came up with this optimizer solution to really continue selling string inverters in places that we're putting these codes in place, but also to compete against microinverters, which microinverters never had the problems of rapid shutdown, and they never had the problem of individual tracking of solar panels. So they came up with that, but it's an add-on for SolarEdge. I like Tygo much better because Tygo is just focusing on that tiny box, on that tiny device called the optimizer. And what's very interesting, and I'll get to that in a second, what's very, very interesting about Tygo is their revenue mix. So if you own Enphase, like I do, it's my second biggest position. Enphase has a lot of business in the US. It's still the main market. Well, if you look at Tygo, 64% of revenues of Tygo come from Europe. And I'll get to this in a minute. But when you look at all of the customers of Tygo, you'll notice some major names, like several utilities around the world, for example. This is because this product has, in my view, a very strong commercial application, industrial application, and large install application, which, if you follow Enphase, you know Enphase is mostly residential solar. When I look at this stock, and I have a hard time finding that data, but when I study this stock, it's mostly commercial installs. Much of the bulk of what they sell, and I know they're trying to get into the residential business, but the bulk of what they sell right now is to industrial installs. A few wonderful things to say about Tygo. They expect over the CEO himself expects over 200 million in sales this current fiscal year. 200 million in sales, noting that they had a little more than 80 million last year in 2022. So that would be a major improvement compared to last year. Again, this is 96% optimizer. This is a company whose gross profit keeps growing at 37%, and if it keeps growing like that, we're gonna get to the same level of gross profit and gross margin as Enphase, which is very encouraging. And this is a company now that is cash flow positive with adjusted EBITDA at 13 million, almost 14 million in Q2 of 2023. So this is a company that is not threatened, in my view, by any near-term bankruptcy. Now, this is what I wanted to say. This is, if you go on their website, and I can't find that data because, of course, they put forward in all of their SPAC merger documents and their annual reports. They put forward, oh look, we're a residential company. You know, they put forward these very nice charts where they show their inverter, their battery. That seems to be the investment thesis that they're pushing forward. And understandably, they probably spent a tremendous amount of resources developing a product competing with SolarEdge, which is what they have developed, a product that competes with SolarEdge. It's also worth noting that the CEO is from Israel, and he's from the same business working environment as SolarEdge and as the CEO of SolarEdge. So they're in that same Israeli startup world, which I think is very interesting as to why they frame SolarEdge as their main competitor, and they're going into the residential market. But in my view, what's really compelling when I look at this business is their large install business. Because when you go on there and you look at their large studies, they show you, case studies, typically how you sell for large projects or, any type of B2B sales, you'll have case studies. If you look at their case studies and you scroll down, it's mostly large commercial, large industrial, parking lots, shadows in the parking lot through solar panels, or when it's houses, it's bigger houses or more complex houses that they do. So to me, this is a company that focuses on volume and really is trying to sell a lot of volume. And this is very important to say. When you look at the type of inverters that they use in the systems where Tygo optimizers are mostly sold, they don't use Tygo inverters. Of course, the Tygo central inverter is a brand new business for them. No, they use very large inverters that from companies that have been around for a long time. For example, they use this type of giant central inverters, which is a Fronius 100 kilowatt inverters. This is what you see in so many of these big installs. When you have a 100 kilowatt inverter, so 100 kilowatt is like perhaps 7 or 8 times the size of your average house, and the average solar panels on an average house, you're going to be 7 to 8 times bigger with this. We can see that it makes very little sense to have a micro inverter because the bigger a project, the more expensive the cost of a micro inverter. Also, if you're going to have a commercial project, you're going to tend to be much more cost sensitive. So which is why I see a lot of benefits to their Tygo optimizer in this business, especially for compliance. Because when you look at a lot of these industrial buildings, they don't have the issue of shadow, or very, very little. Some do, but most of them don't have that issue of shadow because it's a wide open space, a building in the wide open space. So they don't have that issue of shadow. They may want to have the advantage of tracking performance, for example, so that they know which panels to clean. They may. But I think it's even more likely that the bulk of their sales is for compliance, right? The law says you have to, I just want to move beyond the law. And I want to say common sense says that if you have solar panels and if there's a problem, you would want to save your business and you would want to have firefighters being able to intervene. And for that, you need a rapid shutdown. It's as simple as that. You need a rapid shutdown for them to intervene. So anyways, my suspicion is that for large installs, DC-coupled systems almost always win. And they almost always win for this reason. If a large install is going to go for compliance and only compliance, they're going to get their Tygo TS4AF, which is, if you buy it retail, it's $30. So I can't imagine how cheap it gets if you don't buy it retail. If you buy it in bulk, right? Do we get to $20 per rapid shutdown if you buy it in bulk directly from a distributor? Probably, right? So that's very, very cheap. And so if you care about a large installs, with thousands of panels, it's easy for you to justify spending $20, say, for each of these, for each panel, for compliance. Much harder to justify spending $165 per panel when you can get these very bulky Fronius inverters. You can even get bigger inverters than that. There's even bigger inverters than that you can get for industrial applications, for large solar industrial applications. It's going to be much cheaper than buying a product that was specifically optimized for small residential installs. You're going to have a hard time justifying the extra cost. So that's why I see a benefit in the Tigo business. Also, some benefits of large installs that you don't have in small installs is that you're going to be able to afford and find electricians that are very knowledgeable with DC and DC wiring. This is a problem I've pointed out in small DC coupled systems. You're going to have fewer problems. Then again, the current doesn't go for your family's house, which is fine, and they make more sense for very large commercial applications. So let me move on to the product itself. And the product itself, for residential applications, in my view, is also going to win, but not by much. You're really going to have to go after a price-sensitive customer in order to sell your rapid shutdown as opposed to microinverters for a small residential system. Again, it's $30. If you want the bells and whistles, they're more expensive product with everything. Optimization, monitoring, rapid shutdown is $43 with Signature Solar. So probably if you buy it in bulk, probably $35, something like that. So you are right there on that product, actually more than twice cheaper than SolarEdge and what SolarEdge's optimizers cost. So again, I see benefit, and let me walk you through the math really quickly. So let's imagine you want a low-cost solar install for your house, but you still want to have a decent solar install. So let's say you're going to go for a 14 kilowatt install on your roof, which is enough for the average home. It's enough to eliminate your electric bill for the average house. And I'm going to assume there's no battery for the sake of simplicity. So let's assume you get 27 panels at 490 watt. That gives you a little more than 13 kilowatts. So you pay $5,900 for your panels. If you want to stop and zoom, this is the current price, $217 for 490 watt. These panels are getting so dirt cheap. It's not even funny how much solar is going to win. Solar is going to. Utilities don't know the world of hurt they're in. Because at $217 for 490 watt, for $5,900 I'm just amazed. Like, you're eliminating your electric bill for 2 years worth of electric bill of solar panels. It's amazing. So let's assume you do that, and then you want to go a cheap route. So you're going to get the TS4AO, which is this one, at $43. No, you don't want to go with cheaper. You want to go with the cheap one, but not their cheapest, right? The AO. So that's $43. So you're paying $1,174 for your optimizers, and then let's say you want to go for an inexpensive string inverters, which is not going to be the solution of SolarEdge. Inexpensive string inverters. If you watch a lot of YouTube on solar, you'll see that a lot of people get very happy about those. A lot of people are very happy with this EG4 brand, and they are very, very cheap. You'd need two of these, might be $2,600. Two of these. Very, very cheap. They also have server rack batteries that you can buy for just a little more than $1,000. You can add a server rack battery to this and be entirely off grid. Tremendous amount of channels. Like, if you look channels like Solar with Will Pros, something like almost 800 or 900,000 people following him. They go for all this process. You don't have to go for a premium brand. Like, there's ways to get solar for very, very cheap. There are ways to get a solar install for your home that does just about everything for $12,000, $13,000 all inclusive if you build it yourself. And many people are deciding to build it themselves. Anyways, so let's say you go for a entry-level EG4, you get two of those. Your total cost with optimizers is going to be $9,685. right? And don't forget, you get a 30% tax credit in the US on top of that. And if you're gonna go with Enphase, so you're gonna go for a top of the line system, 25-year warranty on the microinverters, great reputation, great customer service. You want to go for the brand in the space. If you get the same solar panels and you get the IQ8 inverters as opposed to getting your optimizer and your string inverters, you just get the IQ8 inverters. You can see how it creates a much simpler system, in my view. And that total cost for an Enphase system would be $10,391. So when it comes to the cost of materials here on a 13 kilowatt, I'm only getting to a $706 difference. That's why if you get an Enphase system quoted and a SolarEdge system quoted, most of the time the cost is going to be just about the same, because installers love installing Enphase. They find Enphase very easy to install, which is not necessarily the case for a DC coupled system like SolarEdge, for example. And if you say want to get the more expensive system, right, the AF system, I actually made a mistake here. If you get the AF system, no, I didn't make a mistake. No, if you get the AF system, your savings are going to be $1,056. Yeah, no, that's correct, because I removed $13 times 27. Sorry, I didn't make a mistake. No, that's correct. So the difference, if you want to get just the rapid shutdown, you just want to comply with code and common sense. You just want to get rapid shutdown, but you don't want any monitoring. You don't want any optimizing, because I don't know, you live in the desert and you don't have any trees or anything, and you want to get the cheapest system. It's going to be about a $1,000 difference with an Enphase system. So slightly cheaper. And in a situation where a buyer only cares about cost, and there are situations like this, they may decide to go for that equipment. I personally wouldn't, and I think most people for solar installs of their primary residence are not going to do that, and they're going to pay the $700 to get the premium system. I think if you sit down with an installer who's really giving you advice as well as selling to you, I mean, for $700, you're getting a 25-year warranty, and you're getting the best product in the space. So I would spend the $700 extra and get Enphase. But if you're very cost sensitive, it makes sense. This product makes sense if you're very, very cost sensitive. All right, let me get to the moment you've all been waiting for, which is the financials. So how cheap is Tygo Solar? Well, I'm gonna be a little funny here. I suppose at least I make myself laugh. Congrats, Tygo. Very, very good. You're a 100% revenue grower. You have positive free cash flow, nice EBITDA in a growing industry, cash on the balance sheet, a compelling product. Congrats. You were rewarded by Mr. Market by a minus 66%. Congrats, Tygo, you are a real solar stock. You got punished like everybody else. Isn't that nice, right? Mr. Market doesn't research any of these stocks, by the way. Mr. Market likes coal. This is just for fun. I put this. You see, coal stocks over the same periods are up because oil prices are up. So over the same periods, if you had invested in this highly technological coal company, you would have been up 30%. Anyways, not to criticize any company, but it's insane to me. It's insane. Like the companies that are positioned for this future of near zero marginal cost energy, near no cost energy, are fire sales. They're priced like crazy because the market is only looking 6 months out and saying, oh, wait a minute, oil is up. If oil is up, that means coal should be up because coal is correlated with the price of oil. It's just entirely ridiculous to me. But anyways, congratulations, Tygo. You're a true solar stock. You're down almost 70%. Congrats. Tygo is dirt cheap. It's very cheap. If you look at their revenue growth, which there's little data. I had a hard time finding all of this data, very little data. But if you go on their website and look at this CEO interview right there, they discuss the analysts' predictions, and the analyst predictions right now, analysts at Tigo is talking with their prediction as 212 million revenue for our current year, right, 2023, and 282 millions for 2024. So I don't know how they're seeing such a slowdown. So here's what I'm going to do. So first of all, these are realized numbers. So in 2021, they did 43 million, 2022, 81 million. So that's 86% growth that they've had so far. For this current year they're forecasting 212 million. So I don't know how they came up with this very high number, but anyways, that would be 161% of growth. For 2024, they're forecasting 33% at 282 million, so plus 33% growth. I don't know how they came up with this number either. So for the sake of simplicity, here's what I'm going to do for growth, because if I put 161, the numbers are really going to make no sense. I'm going to assume the following growth numbers are somewhat right, but divided over the next 2 years. So I'm going to assume 97% growth per annum, revenue growth over the next 2 years, again, for the sake of simplicity here. And if I take these numbers and put them in my usual spreadsheet, that's not my spreadsheet, that's a link from a former slide. Anyways, in my usual spreadsheet, if I put it in my usual spreadsheet, I'm getting a 0.2 on the question, how much am I paying for each percentage point of growth? I'm paying 0.2, which is cheap. It's not the cheapest. It's not HIMS cheap. But as far as solar stocks go, I would say Tigo is the cheapest stock in solar along with SunPower. I've covered SunPower before as the cheapest stock in solar. So both of these stocks are very, very, very cheap. And keeping in mind, this is a company that has cash flow positivity. They're cash flow positive, last quarter, 12 million positive cash flow. And right now their cash on the balance sheet is 55 million. Last quarter was 13 million in positive cash flow. If you're new to the channel, just know I use adjusted EBITDA as a proxy for free cash flow in general, because it's most oftentimes very close to free cash flow, and it is a proxy. Anyways, so in conclusion, how am I going to conclude this video? Well, owning Tigo is a question about, do you want to be in the optimizer-only business? And I think it's much more compelling than, say, a SolarEdge, where you also have to be in the central inverter business, which is going to be a business where sales are going to be done mostly on costs, in my view, mostly on the cheapest cost, because it's not the highest end solution. I mean, at least I don't think it is. But it's a low-cost component that will be offered in downturns, and I think a lot of people are going to love that product in downturns. A lot of people are also going to love the compatibility of Tigo with any inverters, right? Tigo can be paired with any inverters. You can buy your EG4 inverters cheap from China and don't have to worry about buying some premium central inverter, right? If you care about cost, you can get the highest end, or you can get the cheapest. Sometimes I am concerned about the stuck in the middle position of SolarEdge. I still think the company is going to do well, but the stuck in the middle position is something that concerns me. I like when companies are clearly somewhere in the marketplace, right? Enphase is clearly known as the premium, high-end, not cheap solution, right? I like that, and I think Tigo is going to be the low-cost leader in the optimizer space, because they can be paired with any Chinese inverter, and that right there, that does not hurt your growth, because they are 96% of your sales is optimizer. Now, a negative point is that if you're a US investor, you may be caring a lot about the IRA money. They're not getting any IRA money, right? They're not getting 6.5 cents for central inverters, or 11 cents for a what is it? Or 11 cents for per watt, 11 cents per watt for microinverters. They're not getting that money. So they have no incentive to manufacture in the US. Anyways, what's another point? They're agile. They're very, very agile. Only 250 employees. So that tells me this is a company that moves very fast. And productivity will soon be over 1 million revenue per employee. Amazing. The manufacturing is very scalable, right? It's tiny consumer electronics. That's all it is. Tiny boxes. And therefore, that means you can scale your manufacturing much faster than you could for central inverters. And the last question is, do you want to be in the big install business? Because I do believe historically this is what Tigo specializes in. This is, for example, their app. And you can see this is an example of their app, which I think is very unique in their spaces. You can monitor every single solar panel on a commercial solar roof, and each of these solar panels has a Tigo optimizer under them. And I like this positioning. I think it's a great positioning. Optimizers, I don't like them as much as microinverters, but for large installs like this, where getting a very large central inverter is overwhelmingly cheap, this makes sense in my view. So, in conclusion, this was not investment advice. This is just entertainment. I hope you were entertained. I never give any type of advice here. Appreciate your likes, appreciate your subscribes, and have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.